Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I'm making a point to, on all of my shows that I do this month and from now on, is to talk about what is mental health. Because I have noticed, particularly in our community, uh, uh, there is still a negative um, layer over it and a misunderstanding what it is we are talking about when we say mental health. Mental health awareness. What does that mean? So, mental health refers simply to a person's emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects how individuals, how you and I think, feel, and act, our mental health, how we process, how we feel, how we think, feel, and act, our behaviors, how we process our experiences, how we cope with our experiences. Um, in every stage of life, from childhood, adolescence, through adulthood, mental health is important. And see, this is what happens. We learn our behaviors and and our coping skills, right? Based on what we see, what's been modeled for us in our families, what's modeled for us in our communities. It is influenced by our where we have our spiritual awakenings and awareness, our religious experiences. That all has an impact on how we cope with or don't cope with the experiences, the life, because life be life, in right? So how are we coping with life, and are we coping with life? So mental health, good mental health or healthy, I prefer using the word healthy because we attach good and bad to things that oftentimes is not a good or bad, not everything. But if you look at it more as a healthy versus non-healthy, it kind of lifts the guilt off of dealing with in the shame, the guilt and shame of addressing one's mental health. Okay, so how do um, how do you process? Um, how do you cope? Um, are you making healthy choices? What's healthy choices? How are you feeling internally? Because your internal barometer, your thermometer, your internal feelings is a signal and a sign of how your mental health, the healthiness of your thoughts, your processes, your coping skills, your lack of coping skills, what you use to cope, to avoid, to negate. Okay, so that's what mental health. It is essential. And what I'm reading to you is the textbook definition. It is essential for overall health and well-being. That's the bottom line. It's essential for overall health and well-being. When we don't have healthy mental coping skills, we have a tendency to, and I'm going to list some of the things that we do. We have a tendency to take on coping um, skills, right? A coping mechanism, a coping habits that are not healthy, and it leads into other unhealthy attributes in our physical body, in our spiritual body, and in our mental body. Alrighty, it's all in alignment. It has to be. It. This is a thing. We can't be in alignment if we're not healthy in our thought process. Because if we're not healthy in our thought process, we're going to do some things to cope with the feelings and emotions that are not healthy. And then if we don't know how to reach out and seek help and get help in the right places from the right sources, then we have a whole nother thing. Counselors, ouch, I just hit my leg. Counselors and therapists, psychologists, 10 times out of 10, we get in this business. We take on this role because we have had to deal with things personally. We've seen patterns in our family, we've noticed things, and we have acknowledged that there has to be a healthier way. And what does that look like? How do we now do that? We have seen our families, we've seen our parents, our grandparents, and some of us have had the privilege of seeing our great grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our great aunts, cousins, and our elders in our family. deal with things that hasn't always been healthy, but they did it to survive. And so we have adopted a lot of those habits that at this stage in our process, in our life, how we are building and creating our legacy for our family structures, we need to find the balance in it. We need to make some adjustments. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay, but we do want to adjust. There's some things that we definitely need to maintain and include, and then there's some things that we need to take a look at and see how we can adjust and monitor, so that we're healthier, in our families, with our children, and so that the generations that come before us